Katie Hoffman. I'm one of the dietitians here with the World Trade Center Health Program. And today is all about using our technology and making our screen time smarter. So this is being recorded, and there will be time for questions. This is going to be probably playing in our waiting room. So hello to those in the waiting room. So I'm going to be reviewing technology tips to help you in your health journey, and also just thinking about the pros and cons of screen time in the year of 2023. And as I'm sure you guys know, things have evolved tremendously. So how it's been affecting us mentally and physically. And lastly, just some dietitian and wellness tips for optimizing your screen time to support mental health, physical health, and of course, sleep quality. So, in the digital age of 2023, we have a lot of technology, more than even when I grew up. So, every year we come out with more and more information. So, we now have most people have smartphones, right? Internet on our phone, apps for your phone, your TV, your tablet, your watches, fitness tracking, and sleep devices. So, I feel like we're always plugged in. So, is this a good thing or a bad thing? I do believe that there's pros and cons, and that's what we're going to be discussing today. But definitely one of the pros I do believe is there's a lot of apps that can really help with your health. We do encourage our first responders to download the health app with Stony Brook that allows them to see all of their WTC, physical information, their blood work, their referrals, their documents, as well as any upcoming Stony Brook appointments. LIU, Northwell, NYU, they all have different versions of this app as well. So, as you get older and you have a lot more appointments, or maybe you're going through a health issue, definitely downloading the patient portal is very helpful because a lot of times they don't even mail you your blood work anymore. You have to look at it on the portal. And unfortunately, that it's kind of the way things are headed. So know that you should download the portal, but also you can always call us if you'd like your information mailed to you. But also a lot of people don't realize that the health app on your iPhone, you can add emergency contact information. It also track your step count and your standing hours, your sleep schedule. That's how I create a bedtime for myself in the health app. And also, we're going to talk about this in a moment, but you can also, if you have a heart condition such as AFib, this, you can link with your smartwatch and alert your doctor if you're going out of sinus rhythm, which is pretty amazing. Again, advanced technology. So Samsung for Android users is also very similar. They do even have a food and exercise log. So that is really cool. So those are just some two that are already on your phone. But the health app is our Stony Brook app that we recommend for our WTC patients. My favorite app for my patients is called the Habit Tracker app. It's free on the App Store. It looks like this. And you can add a reminder for any habit that you want to track. So my goal at the beginning of the year was to drink more water. So I was actually able to I wanted to drink 3 liters a day, 96 fluid ounces. So every day it reminds me, and it even actually notifies me on my watch every 4 hours. Did you drink water? You can add it, and at the end of the day, you can complete it. And there is a lot of science to habit tracking. If you've ever read the book called Atomic Habits by James Clear, he talks about tracking of some kind. You could get a calendar and just X off how many days that you've achieved a goal. But in this case, it's in your smartwatch and it has reminders. This is great for medication reminders, supplements. If you can't remember to eat breakfast or you want to track your exercise log, it'll tell you how many times throughout the month you completed the task at hand. And it's really nice for compliance and just having that external reminder and a push, let's say, of helping you remind you to do something. Another favorite app of ours is Amanda's favorite is Fujicate. So if you guys aren't familiar with this, I highly recommend it. It's great for shopping at the grocery store because you can scan any barcode and it will rate it. It'll rate it an A plus, an A minus, a B, a C, and it not only tells you what it is, it tells you why. And it also will give you recommendations. So, for example, this Nature's Own white wheat bread was given a C plus because it has no whole grains. It has 1 teaspoon of added sugar, so that's 4 grams of added sugar, no fiber. But then this Ezekiel bread did score an A minus. It'll tell you why. So it's really great if you're in the early stages of your nutrition journey, or maybe you're just really into food quality right now and looking at pesticides, or is the food organic or not? Whatever's important to you, you can put filters in and it will search by that. So I think that's really great. And there's a lot of similar ones. I think there's another one called Yucca, and it's very similar. And Think Dirty. You can actually scan shampoo bottles and household cleaners for different pesticides. So this is one way that technology can really be smart and kind of save you time and even teach you information about what's going in your body or in your home. So another big one that we do promote, especially when COVID happened, was the ability to work out with technology for free or for a very low cost, right? So when the gym's closed, or even now, some patients just aren't comfortable going to a gym, or maybe you don't have one nearby. No gym, no problem with the age of technology. We can go on YouTube.com and literally type in 20-minute Pilates workout or at home strength, or literally anything you can think of, chair yoga, body weight, resistance bands, anything really. And there's so much free information at your fingertips. And there are also other apps and websites as well that are behind a paywall that you can look into also. One of our favorites is the Peloton app. Now, Peloton is a bike, right? Most of you have heard of that, but you do not need a bike to have this app. It can be used on a smartphone or a TV. I have it actually on my TV. I have a Roku, and you could just add the channel. And there's free classes, and you can filter it 5 minutes up to 60 minutes, body weight, dumbbells, Pilates, yoga, cardio, dance, cardio, anything you can think of, really. They have a workout for it, and it's all by trained, professionals. And it is free, and then you can do the customized one, which is $12.99 a month. It's much cheaper than a gym membership. You could do it from the comfort of your own home. I actually bring my phone to the gym and just go into the workout room and follow the classes. That's how much I love this app. And if you have a bike, it can also obviously go towards that too. So that's a really great one. And I know Apple Fitness is very similar to that as well. That should be on your phone already, free, but you can pay, I think it's $9.99 or something for uh, uh, more classes. So another information that patients always ask us about is, what are our favorite food tracking apps? A lot of times patients are trying to figure out, how many calories should I eat? How much fiber do I need in a day? Protein. I'm so confused. My head's spinning. That's where I say, okay, how do you feel about using a food tracking app? These are the ones that we're most familiar with. Maybe you're familiar with them as well. Some of them, all of them are free, but then they have paid versions of them. Of course, that's how they make their money, that you can do more things. So growing up, most of people were familiar with MyFitnessPal. The free version now has a lot of ads, so I usually do recommend my patients to try My Net Diary. That's a free app. It has the barcode scanner, so it's really easy to use. It's very user friendly. Chronometer is also very simple and free to use. Lose It. Noom is a very popular one. There's a lot of commercials for that. That does come with a coaching subscription as well, so you get a little more accountability. But obviously, we're here as dietitians for you to help you. But I do think that it could give you a better idea. It's also very helpful for nutrition counseling if you're a patient, because you could log and you can make a generic username and log in, and then we could even log in and see it prior to your appointment. So I have a lot of patients that will do that as well. And then during the session, we can talk about their day. I say, okay, well, this week was not so good. What happened? And it's a lot more accountability when you have to log something, let's be honest. But I do find it extremely helpful. But if you're not really a technology person, of course, I understand. So there are other options, but these are the ones that we do recommend. And again, it can be very helpful even if you're hitting a plateau and you're wondering, well, I'm not losing weight. Why? Maybe log your food for a week or two, and you might find that you're over consuming calories for your body weight and how much you exercise right now. And it'll show you, wow, 50% of your calories are coming from fat, or you might be able to see it just from a different lens. So the next one would be information on fitness trackers. So these are coming to be a little more popular and more of the research sector, we actually are going to be starting a research study soon with our patients, if anyone's interested, in providing Fitbits and tracking their exercise and sleep quality and using it to help guide our nutritional recommendations. So Apple Watch is the most popular one nowadays, but there's other brands too. And they really can help you get a baseline on how active you truly are. Because the phone, like I said, will track your steps, but you don't always have your phone at your hip all day. So this case, it's on your wrist, and it can help to better gauge how much steps you're taking or how active you are in your workouts, can track your heart rate. They can track your EKG and check if you're in sinus rhythm. And now can also track your standing minutes. I know my phone was going off, or my watch was telling me I needed to stand up an hour ago because I was sitting all day. But a great way to also initiate weight loss is to get some form of pedometer or fitness watch and just do your normal activity as you do, and then check it after a week and add a goal to increase it by maybe 100 steps or 200 steps, or add in 60 more minutes of exercise. It's a really great way to track what you're doing and use it as a tool in your tool belt to assess progress. And over time can create more of a commitment device to being more active. Like during the holidays, when we're eating a lot more, we can set that calorie burn goal a little higher just to help to offset some of the weight management that goes on during higher calorie days. That's just one example. And then lastly, just some other helpful tech tools that are on your smartphone. One of them being, I love the Notes app in my phone. I use it for literally everything, but specifically a grocery list. I know this is a little small, but there's a little bullet section where you can write down what you need to buy. And as you go through the store, you can check it off. So before I leave that, before I head into the checkout aisle, I check to make sure all my bullets have been coded orange, or maybe I need to go to a different store for those items, but it can be extremely helpful, instead of pen and paper. But pen and paper works as well also. But then when we forget our pen and paper at home, we're a little screwed. So we always usually have our phone. The reminders notifications as well in the iPhone and the Android is really helpful to create a to-do list or to remind you to do something. We have so much going on. We're so busy running around to appointments, our kids' sports games, our own, lives are busy. So having something to put into place to remind you is extremely helpful. And that does go back to that other habit tracker app I mentioned too, that can remind you to do certain activities that you want to do. I also highly recommend to put your passwords and your usernames for the apps in your notes sections so you don't forget them, because literally everything nowadays needs a username, an email, a password, and the next thing we know, we can't log in because we can't remember our username because we have a million different apps. So this is one place, and you can lock it, so then you just need one password. But it is helpful. And then lastly, use your calendar in your phone if you are not someone that's going to be taking a appointment booklet with you. When you come to the World Trade Center Health Program for your physical, you might get a referral for 5 different specialists: nutrition, pulmonology, dermatology, chest x-ray. It's a lot. So put it in your calendar, and then you're not going to double book yourself. And you can even have it set so that it reminds you a day before. It can remind you when to leave, because you could put the location in. It'll tell you how far away it is from your house. It's amazing what technology can do. So these are just some pros of the smart technology that's been created in the digital age, and I'm sure more to come. But moving on, there are cons, right? So we did talk about the pros: easier to track important tasks and be reminded about things, more health information, easier to work out at home. You don't need to go to a gym. Nutrition information is very Googleable, as I say. You can look up a lot more information now. You can make your exercise more enjoyable because you can put your, TV in front of your treadmill and watch your favorite show, or listen to something on your smartphone, like watch Netflix while you're on the treadmill. It's crazy. It can also help us keep in touch with loved ones, right? FaceTime, Zoom, having, the ability just to pick up the phone and be able to call anybody you want whenever you want. We didn't always have that luxury. Or even social media, being able to keep up with friends and family on Facebook and sharing photos with each other. This is very important as a social determinant in our health. However, some cons can also include procrastination, right? How many of us sometimes waste time being on social media or just scrolling Facebook, where we could be doing something else. So it can be a sneaky time sucker, right? With just one last episode of that cooking show, and then I'll go to bed. It sucks you in and it's addicting. It can also lead to distracted eating. We're going to talk about this in the next slide, but a lot of us associate watching a movie or watching television with having a snack. So that's where the technology piece has become somewhat problematic for weight in our country. Another reason is it's a lot more easy to order food from your phone or order online and not have to go physically to the store to go pick things up. Where nowadays it's just quicker, so it causes a lot more food availability, and sometimes that's not always the best thing. That might also be a pro, because let's say you broke your ankle and you have no way of getting to the grocery store. You Back in 2020 when people had COVID, they could do the grocery shopping delivery. That's a pro, but not getting up from our couch is a con in terms of our health. Also, blue light is something we're going to be speaking about, and that screen time can lead to macular eye degeneration, eye strain, eye problems, that tech neck we get from looking down at our phones. I think they're saying that the kids born this, kind of time may have like neck issues because they're born pretty much with an iPhone or a tablet in their hand looking down. So there could be health ramifications to that. And then, of course, sometimes less in-person interactions. So we sometimes rely on social media instead of actually calling someone or getting out of the house. And, we can do telehealth now, which is great, but if you live 5 minutes from the office, sometimes it's good to put on some real pants, get out of your sweatpants, put on some jeans and go to that appointment. So there again, pros versus the cons and what that means to you. And lastly, in the age of social media and technology, there's a lot more information. It could be information overload, specifically in nutrition. So I'm a master's registered dietitian. I went to school for 6 years for nutrition. I'm board certified, licensed to practice in the state of New York to give medical information. There are a lot of people on the internet with no credential at all. Amanda, our other dietitian, says that her dog could be a nutritionist. Nutritionist doesn't really mean much. A dietitian is who you want to be getting your nutritional information from. So there's a lot of people on social media. I did this by losing weight, apple cider vinegar, go low, Ozempic. It can be a lot of information. You don't know what's right and what's wrong. So come to us. We will absolutely guide you using science-based technology. But back in the day, that information wasn't there. We didn't have the internet, or it wasn't as readily available. And then lastly, sometimes too much social media and watching the news can also lead to more depression and anxiety, just because there's a lot of media being swayed certain ways, fear mongering, those types of things too. So that can also be a con. So how can we manage this a little bit better? This distracted eating concept I wanted to put into this webinar because of how prominent it is in our patients. So if we were in a public sector, I would say raise your hand if you associate watching TV with eating. I think a lot of people would raise their hand. It's a learned behavior over time and due to repetitions. So that cue is turning on the TV. So people say, "Oh, I snack at night. I always snack at night." I said, "Well, what are you doing?" Like, well, I'm watching TV. I said, okay, well, the cue turning on the TV is your cue to go to the kitchen. So there are other ways to navigate this. One, tip is to break that habit. So you could just not watch the TV at night. You could read and engage in other activities, but that's no fun. So I would say if you're used to having food or a snack with you while you're watching television, there's a few different options. One is to get a drink instead. Most of us don't drink enough water. So I say get like a big drink. I don't have my water bottle with me, but get a straw, put some ice in it, some lemon, make it fun. You could chew on things. Again, like gum and stuff might not always be as good, but celery or cucumbers or carrots, almost like you're quitting smoking, like distract the mouth, so that you're not truly eating a lot of calories. If you just want something to do with your hands, I recommend some form of either a Rubik's Cube, a fidget spinner, playing a brain teaser like a word puzzle or Sudoku. Sometimes the TV show is not really that engaging and you're bored, so then you eat. So maybe having something with your hands and coloring in a book, I don't know, anything just to distract your hands. And also remembering hunger versus craving, right? So back to this slide here, cravings can increase when you're watching TV because a lot of these commercials are for food, right? Like we're not hungry until we see the Wendy's commercial for the, 4 for $4, and all of a sudden we want a Wendy's Frosty and a Baconator. That is what the goal of that commercial is to do. So increasing those cravings can be a problem. And then we don't really know, am I truly hungry or was that just a craving? And we do have other videos that go through this more in detail. But this idea of craving versus hunger is very important. And when you're watching television, ask yourself, am I truly hungry or am I just craving something because I'm watching TV or I just saw a commercial? And try to be more intuitive with your eating. With intuitive eating or mindful eating, it's being more present. And we do recommend not being distracted while you're eating. So a lot of us have a bad habit of being on our phone while eating or they're watching TV while eating. We're not even noticing if we're full or not, or if we even like the food because we were distracted by whatever was on television. And that can lead to overeating and over portioning. So I highly recommend trying to eat very slowly and try not to eat in front of the television if you can. And some other ways to reduce your screen time, of course, are engaging in non-screen related activities. Back in the day, they say, but brain teasers, reading a book, or even an audiobook or a podcast and going for a walk. Anything puzzles, anything that has nothing to do with a screen. You can set screen time limits on your phone or tablet. You can set a bedtime so that all your apps shut down and you only get emergency phone calls when your phone's in the sleep mode. That's what I do. It helps a lot. Keeping your phone or your tablet in the whole other room, just because if it's there constantly next to us, we're bound more to pick it up. Right at Thanksgiving, my dad puts everyone's phones in a basket and he hides it until the end of the night. Because once it's out of sight, sometimes it's out of mind. But having that constant notification, that constant pull to check our phones, it can be distracting and quite frankly, it can be annoying if you're in a doctor's appointment and your phone's going off the whole time because people are trying to reach you. Whereas if it's on do not disturb or it's in focus mode that only your kids or your mom or your dad, people that need to contact you in an emergency can get to you, it's really very helpful. There is also a tip to turn your phone to grayscale so that you can look this up, but basically it turns your phone black and white. And there's research to show that if it's not so colorful, we're not as distracted by it. So I have that option as well on my phone. And then we already talked about this focus modes. So that you can set screen time limits for the apps. If you go to your settings and you go to screen time, you can add app limits. So for me, I am addicted to TikTok. So I set screen time limits for an hour a day between TikTok and Instagram and Facebook so that I get that notification, hey, 15-minute warning, and then, hey, you're done for the day. You can snooze it, but it is quite helpful just because sometimes we do waste a lot of time and you can customize it too. So this is for iPhone, but I believe Android also has a similar function. And same thing with the focus setting. So I have a work setting, a sleep setting, and then a personal setting. So only, emergency contacts can get to me or emergency notifications like my coworkers can message me. But, my family group chat that I don't really need to be in right now is silenced. You can still check it, but it helps a lot with pickups, which is the amount of time that you pick up your phone. And then lastly, I touched on this briefly. You guys have probably heard about this before, but blue light is the visible spectrum. A lot of the light we see is from blue light, but more and more we're getting a lot of artificially sourced blue light in the form of LED, TVs, tablets, monitors, screens, smartphones, etc. There are some health benefits to blue light. It can increase your alertness, but it can also be a problem because a lot of times we are exposing ourselves to too much blue light right before bed, and that is actually making our brain more active and can disrupt our circadian rhythm. So that, and also it can lead to eye problems. They say that 80% of American adults use digital devices more than 2 hours a day, and that can lead to eye strain. So the goal is to have it be less than 2 hours a day of non-work related, to prevent age-related macular degeneration. And again, some of the harmful effects of not having a good sleep rhythm is cardiovascular disease, certain cancers, of course, sleep disorder like insomnia, cognitive dysfunction. They did create these blue light blocking glasses that they say are helpful to prevent eye strain at least. And we absorb a little bit less of those blue light sensors, especially right before bed. Or if you're like me and you look at a screen all day long for your job, that could be something to think about purchasing. And I threw this in here. If you go to our sleep video, I go more in depth on this, but the 8-3-2-1-0 method is for sleep. So it's 8 hours before bed, no caffeine, 3 hours before bed, no eating, 2 hours before bed, no liquids, 1 hour before bed, no blue light. And that's why I highlighted that one. And then zero is the amount of times that we should hit snooze. So I go more in depth into this in different videos, but that one is that 1 hour before bed, trying not to have blue light. So I recommend trying to do non-stimulating activities. Trying to keep the lights on can actually help. If you're in the dark and you're putting on that LED artificial light, it actually absorbs more blue light into your eyes. Spend the time preparing for tomorrow and doing other things besides watching television or on social media or the news, and pleasure reading. It says not in bed, but you can definitely read in bed. And funny enough, but at 2:30 my app just went off on my watch to remind me to drink more water. So there you go. And lastly, just a conclusion is that technology and smart devices are not all bad. I know I'm of a younger generation. We did grow up more with this, but everybody has different opinions on it. You must be smart in the way that you use them, and just be sure to not let the smartphones and technology get in the way of your health journey. If you feel like it's holding you back, it's time, like I said, when in doubt, turn it off and go outside. But you can use them to your advantage with a lot of the apps that are out there these days. So my goal is to share this information and hopefully give you some little insight on this. And I'm going to end the recording, and thank you for your time. And I'm going to open it up to see if anybody wants any questions.